Man, time and dimension travel really isn't good for your skin complexion, is it? Hello, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I enjoy. We're talking Star Trek Discovery again. Weekly reviews here on this channel, so if you do like that, please do hit the subscribe button and the like button, all that jazz. And this week, part 1 of Terra Firma. Now, I went into this episode from the previews with reservations because from what I saw in the previews, from what I saw in the clip that was released, I kind of felt like the explanation of what was going on with Georgiou that got released in that preview clip that we got of her with Cronenberg and Kolber and the hologram of the guy in the TNG uniform, that clip, I kind of felt like it was adequate for an explanation of what was going on for her, fine, but I felt it kind of shut off too many future potential storylines involving parallel universes. I love a good parallel universe story, and it kind of felt a bit like that. So I kind of went into this episode with reservations about it, thinking, I don't know if I'm going to like this one. And for the first 15 minutes or so, I was ticking along, not massively enjoying the episode. There were several things. It wasn't just that. Everyone's relationship with Georgiou in this series, in this season, seems very out of nowhere. Like we've got, obviously they've been building up this sort of familiarity with Michael and Georgiou. Michael's been very caring about Georgiou. And I just don't think that the show has built that up enough it just doesn't feel quite earned. I think they could have got there potentially eventually, but just because she looks like and is a mirror universe version of her friend, of her mentor, I don't think they did enough of the work to justify how Michael acts towards Georgiou a lot of the time in the very caring way that she acts. Now, there's certainly like headcanon reasons we can come up with for it. You know, she feels such an attachment to her because she let her friend die, and her actions let her Georgiou die. And you know, they've never really played on that in the show itself, so it kind of feels a bit unearned. And then they double down on that a bit more with some of the other characters as well, because when Georgiou's going off and they think they may have found a solution, or they know where a solution is, they come across, Georgiou is leaving with Michael, and Saru and Tilly come and say goodbye as well. And some of the things, I mean, Tilly says, "You've been good for me," to her. Has she? Really? Have we seen that? I don't think we've seen that. We've seen her belittle her. Is that good for her? Have we seen, if they'd shown somewhere that Tilly had taken that on and grown from that belittling, maybe, or had somehow learnt something from Georgiou, but I don't think they've actually shown us that at all in the show. And therefore, it kind of, again, feels like this is just this relationship between the two characters, Tilly and Georgiou, is a bit out of nowhere in this one scene. And similarly with Saru. Saru and Georgiou have been butting heads all season. And what does he say? He says, "I've learnt as much from you as our prime Georgiou." Has he? Really? I don't see that necessarily. So that whole bit there kind of felt a bit... Everyone's relationship with Georgiou just felt very unearned in this section. So this whole first section, what with the explanation, the relationships, and just generally, wasn't finding it massively interesting. And I thought, okay, this is just going to be an episode that I'm not that fussed about. And it's a two-parter, so I'm probably not going to be fussed about the next episode either. It happens. You're never going to like every episode in the season. And that's what I thought was happening here. Then Carl turns up. So Michael and Georgiou go down to this icy sort of landscape, this icy planet, wandering around for a bit. Again, I'm thinking, what's with their relationship here? It just doesn't feel earned. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, there's a guy in a bowler hat, sitting smoking a cigar in an armchair with a door next to him in the middle of this icy landscape. And I loved Carl. He was brilliant. I don't know who the actor is. I forgot to look it up. But he Absolutely nailed it. Absolutely brilliant. And it was so quirky and weird that he was there. What is he? Is he a Q? I mean, he could be a Q. He could be some other kind of race. I mean, we certainly saw a lot of races in the original series. It kind of had that kind of vibe to it, the original series sort of vibe, where they, aliens have these unexplained magical like powers. But the closest thing we've got in sort of more modern Trek is Q. So, although they didn't reveal it, maybe he's a Q. But I really liked him, and for me that was the turning point of the episode. We got Carl, which was great, and then she stepped through the door, and we're in the mirror universe. Love a good mirror universe story. And yes, we don't know what the exact situation is here. We don't know if she's time travelled back in a kind of quantum leap type style. She's back in her own body, actually in the past of the mirror universe, or if this is all some kind of vision, and what happens in it doesn't really affect anything in the actual universe or in the actual mirror universe. We don't know that yet. But she's there, and we're getting to see all these great characters, all the alternatives of all these great characters. We get to see Killy again. We get to see Evil Stamets. Although Evil Stamets, I think, was a little bit wasted. We didn't see as much of him. He was great in season 1, at the end of season 1 of Discovery. But we didn't see enough of him here. But I did like seeing Killy. I think it's really great to see her, actually, because it kind of... now that Tilly herself is kind of coming up in the ranks and is now the second officer on the Discovery, it's good to have that kind of contrast with, the Captain Killy in the Mirror Universe. It's nice to see that. And from this point on, I was absolutely engrossed in the whole episode. I barely made any notes because I was so engrossed in watching it. From that point on, I was transfixed and I loved every single moment of the episode. And this happened in season 1 of Discovery as well. The Mirror Universe arc was the redeeming feature of season 1 of Discovery. The first half, the whole Klingon plot and the Klingon war plots, I've never been shy of saying that I did not like that. And for me, Discovery has only ever gotten better. It started off very weak. Did not like the first 2 episodes very much didn't like the first 2 episodes of Discovery. And I wasn't that keen on most of the first half of the season. But when they got to the Mirror Universe, that's when I started liking Discovery. And it's really good to see it again here. It's really good to see those characters and just the world. And what's really interesting is it's a method. And again, this is a bit of a two-edged sword here, because it is a method to show how Georgiou has changed. We get to see how she reacts differently to certain situations in the Mirror Universe now that she's spent so much time in the Prime Universe, and clearly the characters around her have had an effect on her. At one point, she saves Saru's life. Saru the slave, Saru the Kelpian slave that nobody cares for, that they eat for dinner. They eat Kelpians. And Michael is about to have him executed. Evil Michael. Good to see. We'll come on to her in a minute. And then Georgiou saves him, and she wouldn't have done that originally. Now, she has a slight ulterior motive in one sense because she wants to get information from him about Michael, but I think you could tell in her facial expressions, you could tell in the character's acting that she actually, was slightly taken back about the fact that they were going to kill him so brutally, and you can see that effect that being in the Prime Universe has had on her, and how it's softened her slightly, which is not always a good thing in the Mirror Universe. But talking of the two-edged sword thing, I again don't think the show has necessarily put in enough work to get her to the point. It's shown great here, but we haven't had the journey to enough of the journey. We've had little bits. There has been moments, I will grant them, but I don't think we've seen enough of her journey, of her personality changing, or specifically the things that would make her personality change. We've had episodes where she's shown that she's gradually changing, but we haven't really seen the why behind it. We haven't seen an explanation of, okay, this thing happened to her in the Prime Universe, or this interaction happens with these two people that had an effect on her on a sort of emotional level. Not much, anyway. We've seen it a little bit, but I think they could have possibly done that a bit more. It was great to see Evil Michael again, and it really showed off Sonequa Martin Green's acting talent here, because when she does that, I mean, she just oozes pure sort of venom in this, and when she is cornered and confesses to her betrayal, just like the vitriol that she has, it was such an engaging and engrossing scene that I think she has to be applauded for her acting here. It was absolutely brilliant. The one thing about the mirror universe thing that I was slightly disappointed about is that this is dealing with, they're going back to the day when the plot against Georgiou was revealed, the plot conspired by Michael and Lorca. And we didn't see Lorca. Now, it would have been really great if they got Lorca back. But, I mean, I get the actor might not be available, but it just would have been so good. There is still a second part to this. It's still a possibility. They might be keeping it quite hidden, because they didn't show any of the Mirror Universe stuff in the previews to this. So they might still be hiding the fact the next episode is going to have Lorca in it. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that, because I would really like to see Lorca in it again. He was probably the most interesting character in the first half of the season of the first half of the first season of Discovery. I really like, he was evil, but he was interesting, and I would really like to see him again. That would be quite fun to do. Other things, I didn't mention when I was talking about the beginning bit that it was mostly the section that I was mostly not interested in, but I did like the fact that they referenced the Kelvin timeline. They referenced the fact that there was this alternate timeline that somebody had travelled to the Prime timeline again from, that had been created by an incursion of a Romulan mining ship. That's clearly referencing the events of 2009 in the film. So great that they are referencing the existence of that in the grand Star Trek multiverse. That was nice, but that was kind of really the only bit that I was particularly interested in that first bit. The burn mystery's ticking over as well. They've discovered a message from the ship. There were some theories going around, and actually one that I subscribed to but I never got around to making a video about was that the ship that was sending the distress signal might be the Discovery, and that might be how it ties into Calypso, the short trip. It appears not to be the case of that, but another version of Discovery from like time travel, timey-wimey stuff. But it wasn't that. So there goes that theory. And there's a Kelpian captain of this ship sending a message. That's kind of, we're drip feeding the information on the burn. I'm sure that's going to probably kick into gear once we've got this Mirror Universe Georgiou story out of the way in a couple of episodes' time. So that's what I thought of the episode. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Did you like seeing the Mirror Universe again? I'm always here for more Mirror Universe content. I love it. So did you like it? Do you want to see more of it? Do you, like me, do you want to see Lorca? Do you want to see evil Lorca in that universe in the next episode? Thanks for watching, and I will see you again next week for another review. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. I've recently hit 3,000 subscribers, so if you are already subscribed, thank you for helping me get there. Onward to the next 1,000, however long that may take me. I will see you next week. Goodbye.